Hey guys, happy Tuesday and welcome to day one of our distance learning. Good to see you guys and hopefully you had a wonderful spring break. We can't start math class without a good joke, so hopefully you can see on the calculator that they plugged in 5 plus 3 just to make sure it was 8. So we'll keep this going. Hopefully, we are going to maintain as much as we can from our usual class schedule. So this screen should look pretty familiar. We're going to talk a little bit today about distance learning, kind of what I'm expecting from you, what you can expect from me, and some things we can do to make sure that we keep our math learning going strong. Then we'll jump into our learning goal for today, what materials you're going to need, a little bit of a review lesson itself, and then you'll have some time to practice in Google Classroom. So let's go ahead and get started. Distance learning. So this is taking me back to when I was in graduate school and did my degree online, and I found that the following things are going to help us be really successful with this. A lot of patience. This is a new way of teaching for me. This is a new way of learning for you. So we're going to kind of presume positive intent here and think that everyone's doing their best and know that it's a little bit of a learning curve for everyone right now. We're going to do a lot of deep breathing. We're going to read carefully all directions and instructions. I'm not at your kitchen table or in your living room reminding you of directions, so that means that you might have to read them multiple times and read them slowly to make sure you understand what's being asked. A lot of deep thinking, just because I'm not right next to you asking you follow-up questions and collaboration is going to look a little different. I still want you guys connecting what we've been talking about to previous topics, asking strong questions, and advocating for yourself. And lastly, communication. Again, we're not going to be raising our hand in the middle of class to help one another, but I am here. I am here to help you. I am here to answer your questions. I'm here to work with you. Please, please, please be a self-advocate for yourself in your learning while we're doing the distance learning. That means you are emailing me, you are commenting in our Google Classroom, you are taking advantage of Google Meet. Once we get started, I'm going to have office hours on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I'll communicate with you and your parents the times. I kind of have to wait to see what my schedule looks like and when I might be in other meetings with other teachers. But my goal is to 3 days a week be hanging out in a Google Meet. So if you have questions about what we've been doing during the week or an assignment, or just want to chat and check in, you will know when to find me. If you want to meet one-on-one or in a small group at any time, though, that's where that communication comes in handy. So you can reach out to me and just know that I'm here to help as much as I can. All right, let's get into the math, the good part. Today we are going to do a quick review of multiplication and division of whole numbers to solve situational problems with equivalent ratios. So as you remember, when we have two equivalent ratios, they form a proportion, and we can solve proportions and look at proportional relationships by using cross multiplication and then solving one-step equations, which we did a few months ago. So it's tying into something we have previously done. So what you'll need for today is obviously your Chromebook, which you are on right now, or if you are on a phone or a tablet, that should work, but your Chromebook might be easier since you'll be doing some typing on a keyboard. You'll need your math notebook and some pencils handy, and as always, you're going to want a positive attitude. So we actually did this problem last week, but I thought it would be a good one just to review. Here we have a word problem, and then we're setting up our proportion with units. That's really key when we're setting up proportions. And then there's some workspace. Amy earned $25 after babysitting for 3 hours. If she always charges the same rate, how much will she make after working for 7 hours? So our first step when we're creating a proportion As we understand, it's going to be two equal ratios, and those ratios we're going to write as fractions. You might want to pause and ask yourself, what are the other two ways that you can write a ratio? When I set up my proportion with units, you'll see I'm labeling. So here my units is $25, so I included the dollar sign, and here it's 3 hours. Hours is my unit. So then I'm going to go back into the problem, and they also give me the information of 7 hours. So I know that I can plug that in as well. I want you to notice how your units here are matching. And then X, that variable, is going to represent our unknown. So we're not sure how much money Amy will be making. So I use the information from the problem to set up my proportion and label it with units. Next step, as you probably remember, is to use cross multiplication. It still works. You're looking at equivalent fractions. You could be asking yourself 3 times what is going to give me 7. Obviously that's not going to be a whole number, so you can still figure it out that way. You have actually a ton of strategies for solving proportions, but this is one we reviewed most recently. So I'm just modeling one strategy. Please know that you can also use multiplication and division to make equivalent fractions at this point. But if you wanted to use cross multiplication, notice how I circled the 3 and the x as they are across from each other, and then the 7 and the 25. So that's what I'm going to multiply. When I multiply that 25 times 7, I get 175. And when I multiply that 3x, I get 3x. And now here we have a nice, pretty straightforward one-step equation, and you guys have been very successful with these in the past. So as you'll remember, you want to isolate that variable. So our variable is attached to the 3, so I need to be thinking, what operation is happening right now? I'm envisioning you all yelling out in class, multiplication! And you're correct. So we need to use the inverse operation to isolate that x. So the inverse of multiplication would be division. You're right. So I'm going to divide my 3x by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So then I have 1x, or I can just represent that with x. When I'm balancing an equation using one step, remember that equal sign is a balance. So whatever I do to one side, I need to do to the other. Sorry, I'm making a balance here, to keep them even. So if I divide 3x by 3, I also need to divide the 175 by 3. When you do that you could use partial quotient, you could use a standard algorithm. When I do that, I'm going to get 58.3 repeated. So we can use rounding if we're getting a decimal, that's fine. In this case, we are talking about money, so I would probably write my final solution as $58.33. But that is just a quick review of solving proportions using cross multiplication and division. Now I'm going to show you how you're going to be able to kind of do some work on your own here. So I'm going to ask you to hop on over to Google Classroom. And when you're over in Google Classroom, make sure you're in the grade 5 compacted math class. This is what it will look like. I had posted these problems actually before spring break, so some of you have gotten a jump start on it. In the future, I'm going to make sure I don't assign them till the actual day that they're due. But yes, some of you have gotten a jump start, which is totally fine. So when you are in Google Classroom, you can head on over to classwork, and you're going to see problems labeled with the date. So today's date is March 31st, and so you're going to know what work you need to do here. This was our practice assignment from March 12th before our spring break. So if you click on the March 31st power problem, At the top, it says mathematicians. We're going to keep using power problems for some of our distance learning work. Please see the problem attached in the comments. Explain the following. Number 1, your solution, your answer. Number 2, your justification using words. You have been practicing with justification all year long. This is going to pay off because you are just going to be using words and numbers to explain to your classmates and to me how you solved. So some sentence starters to get you thinking are, I did blank because blank. Blank made me think of blank, so I did blank. I saw this and I knew to do this. So just a few sentences will suffice on how you knew what to do for your strategy and why you did it that way. And then throughout the day, and even the following day, it's not going to close down or anything, I want you to comment on someone else's post. But you could comment more than once if you want to. You could agree with them, share your strategy. If they did something different, you might want to ask them a question. But I'm really going to stretch you here to think beyond just, I agree with Alay. See if you can add on to Alay's, or maybe you could ask Alay if he could do it in a different way, or maybe you could comment on someone's and say, I could build this with a model and it would look like blank. So kind of push your depth of thinking here and how you might be able to explain it to somebody. And linked down here, you'll see the power problem. You can just click, it'll take you there, and you'll comment, and then you can click turn in when you're finished. So there's our power problem. And then it also says, you'll notice the date, March 31st, proportion practice. Click on the attachment for practice on ratios and proportions. You do not need to print and cut out the cards, just solve them in your math notebook. You can check your answers by scanning the QR code with an iPad or phone. If you'd like, email me your answers and I'm happy to check them. So again, if you click on this document, it's going to take you to some task cards. You're going to solve those in your notebook. You can use cross multiplication, or you can use any other strategy you'd like. If you take your phone and open it up to the camera app and just hold it in front of the QR code, the answers should pop up. If you're having trouble with the QR codes, like I said, please email me your answers and I will get back to you guys right away and let you know. All right, and again, you can hit turned in when you're finished. You have received a assignment sheet by this point, kind of outlining what our week will look like. So you can follow along with there. I believe today I also asked you to hop onto Prodigy for 15-20 minutes. Of course, if you would like to go on longer, you're more than welcome to. I can see your progress on Prodigy, which is really neat. So I'm thinking in the days and weeks to come, we might do some friendly competitions for those of you who are accessing and working through Prodigy. But I'm really proud of you guys for all of your hard work that you're doing today and that you'll continue to do. Please, please, please know that I'm here for you if you need anything. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great rest of your day.